Today on Locked on Rockies, while the early season optimism is always here and we don't want to put a damper on anyone's parade, we have to keep in mind that this Rockies team isn't perfect. What are some of our top concerns heading into 2023's opening day for the Colorado Rockies?
You are Locked on Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked on Rockies podcast for today, the 28th day of March in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked on Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, you're in the right spot, because that's where super fans like myself go to get their daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel and on your favorite streaming service. We are on the march to 500 YouTube subscribers, folks. We are asking for your help going to Locked on Rockies on YouTube, clicking subscribe, being part of the show, diving into the live chat, and having some fun with us this season. Today on the Locked on Rockies episode, going to highlight some of our primary concerns for the team heading into 2023. Couple of things that we're keeping our eyes on and things to be a little bit worried about here as the Rockies open up the season. Like we said, I'm not going to go too damper. It's just things we have to consider and things we have to keep in mind, especially for a ball club that, again, realistically is one that is most likely going to be one that struggles. Possible upside, sure, a higher ceiling than some folks might think, but there are some things to be concerned about here with this Rockies team, and it started already. How will this Colorado Rockies team stay healthy? This is a team that's already seen 3 major injuries, 4 even, I believe, if I'm keeping track of everything. But we've seen 3 massive injuries to Sean Bouchard, Brendan Rodgers, and Lucas Gilbreth. We'll just go with those. I'm sure I'm missing one. But those 3 injuries already highlight massive issues for the Rockies and drastically change the pace and mindset of the Rockies. And we're already seeing that with a McMahon pivot and things of that nature. So this also trickles into, we've seen back issues with CJ Cron and Charlie Blackmon, 2 players that will need to fill a similar role. We have to worry about until Chris Bryant stays in the lineup consistently and is on the field and plays considerable time in a row. Us as Rockies fans have to hold our breath because it might be like last season all over again. However, the signs for Chris Bryant haven't shown. He shows signs of being in a much better spot than it sounds like Cron and Blackmon are. Kyle Freeland himself has said he doesn't feel like he's up and ready to go. Kyle Freeland's not dealing with health issues. It just sounds like a more of ready to go and World Baseball Classic and things of that nature impacting there. So how healthy is this team really heading into opening day? And I mean, it's not like the team is completely lacking all of its starters, and it's not like anyone outside of the major injuries that we know of isn't scheduled to miss opening day. It's just a matter of, can the Rockies really sustain? How much more damage, how many more injuries can the Rockies really sustain? How impactful and how effective is the depth on this team going to be? And how many times are you really going to want to turn to those pieces when you're really hoping to see a lot from players that need to stay on the field, especially your young guys, where you really hope to see good, positive health trends from the young guys as well and keep them on the field? So that's the first question already that the Rockies are facing, is how they are going to respond to the injury adversities that they have faced throughout the spring and impacting their lineup. But on the positive side of that issue is the players that are getting healthy are looking really good. Like we said, Chris Bryant is swinging the bat well. That he is the key one there when it comes to injuries. Randall Grichuk, that was the injury I was forgetting. See, I knew I was going to get it, but so I know Chris Bryant's only one example, but he's a pretty big prime thing there. There's just too many people on that injury question list or already injured or injury issues for the Rockies for us to not sit there and be a little bit concerned about these issues with the Rockies. And another thing that that kind of leads into getting ready and gearing up for the season is the strikeout numbers for the Rockies. It's a huge trend, a worrisome trend that we're seeing with the Rockies, but it's not one that you can also sit there and really buy into 100% and say that it for sure is going to carry over and be the prime example of how this team is going to look in the regular season. But this is a team that is that has far too many strikeouts already throughout the spring, and especially from some players that you're expecting to see playing time in almost half of Brian Servin's at bats, and it's only off by one. He has struck out. 24 of Michael Tolia's 73 at bats, strikeouts. 23 of Nolan Jones has almost struck out on half of his at bats. Ryan McMahon has almost struck out on half of his at bats. Brenton Doyle struck out in 17 at bats out of his 46. And some of these guys I know are younger. I'm reading out some names that obviously aren't going to be on the team, but Servin and Tolia is going to play with this team. Nolan Jones was trying to make this team. Ryan McMahon, obviously a big factor. Zach Veen, one of the top prospects. Elias Montero, it's a little bit better at 13 to 62 at bats. Chris Bryant, 10 to 37. The numbers get a little bit better, but these are a lot of double-digit strikeout springs already for the Rockies, and it's not like you can completely avoid that, and it's especially the time to work on your swing and to work on getting aggressive and getting back in the quote-unquote swing of things. When we are just looking at areas of concern, we know how bad the Rockies can be at striking out. We know how this team has had a history, especially last year and of late, of striking out a lot, and how they can really get in the way of things. That's a pretty obvious answer there, but cutting down on strikeouts is going to be a massive part of the Rockies' ball. They have to be looking at that and have to be a little concerned, especially that they have a few batters and half of their at-bats in the spring are ending in the strikeout, especially with one being as important as Ryan McMahon. However, the number lines, the stat lines when the Rockies are actually putting bat to ball is still looking pretty good. That's why I keep wanting to bring up some of the positives mixed in there. Servin is a pretty big risk. I would say not a very strong spring for him, and in his appearances there with the team. I mean, you kind of knew what you were going to expect, but there's definitely a gap between Servin and Elias Diaz when it comes to offensive production this spring here as well. So it shows that Servin still's got some time to go, but younger guy and still not one of the stronger positions for the Rockies there at catcher. But things to monitor, and we're going to continue looking at things to look out for. Areas of concern so far for the Colorado Rockies here as we approach opening day right around the corner. Can you believe it? I mean, it is here, folks. It is time for baseball, regular season baseball. We've had spring training. We've had a great World Baseball Classic. And opening day is here. Let's gear up. Let's talk a little bit more about our concerns and our thoughts that we need to keep in the back of our mind as we get things started in another season of Rockies baseball. But before we do that, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. All you got to do, create your profile, upload your job, give it that description, and then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile so you can spread the word that you are hiring. The simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. I want to thank you for making the Locked On Rockies podcast your first listen of the day and for checking out the Locked On Rockies live stream, just like Joel DeGrace is. He says Clay Boom is going to hit 35 homers this year. That definitely, I think that could happen. I don't think that's too crazy. I don't think a 35 home run season for Chris Bryant, if he stays healthy, is out of the question. And that would be massive. That would be really, really good for the Rockies. Man, I really want to start hopping on the Chris Bryant train. I really, really do. But I got to see some playing time from him, and I got to see more from KB here before I get too excited. Hey, wanted to let you know about tomorrow's episode real quick. We're doing something a little different, a little fun, and it is going to be the NL West preview show where we got all the hosts of all the Locked On NL West shows, and we discussed what we think is going to happen in the NL West, who's going to win, who came out on top, who had the best offseason. That's going to be coming your way tomorrow, so no traditional episode like this tomorrow, but it's going to be our really cool yearly tradition of the NL West preview show as just part of our baseball preview coverage here, getting things ready for opening day on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we got you covered all baseball season long, all Rocky season long. We got you covered here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. I want to continue today's show by highlighting some of the things that we're keeping an eye on, we're concerned about for the Rockies. And one of the big questions that people have this year for the Rockies is the bullpen, and I think the rotation as well. But I think a main question, especially for people that followed the team last year, is this bullpen going to be better than last year? I would say the worst part of the Rockies team as a whole last year was the bullpen. For a team that finished in the bottom ranks of just about everything, the bullpen was one of the worst bullpens in the game. And it was leaning on inexperience. It was not enough veterans. It was no left-handed arms. We know that this bullpen has been reshifted, relooked, and is something that the Rockies are hoping that their changes are going to lead to success. And some of them are looking good. Dinelson Lamet and his short little work is looking really good so far. A whip of .67, a batting average of 1.38. German Marquez, I know it's not out of the bullpen, but he's looked sharp in the spring. We've seen some solid performances, but we've also not really seen – we've seen the Rockies have some really shaky appearances. We've seen the Rockies blow some leads. We've seen the Rockies not necessarily have clean pitching, and it's something that I think that we need to keep an eye out as the Rockies continue to be – inch closer and closer to the season. Brad Hand only with a handful of strikeouts here in his 7 games, and ERA currently sitting at 7.50. He's supposed to be one of the pieces to the puzzle here. And we know what happened. And the big question I think that people are focused on is Daniel Bard. And Joel DeGrace says that. Daniel Bard looks off. The World Baseball Classic, even his appearances before this in the spring, Daniel Bard is not giving Colorado Rockies fans a ton of confidence going into the regular season. It's something that is going to be something he's going to have to figure out real quickly, because the Rockies are going to turn to him and going to turn to him right away. And he's got to be the closer that he was last year for this Rockies ball club if they want to have a chance in these tight ball games. And to see the World Baseball Classic performance, to see how he's pitched so far in the spring, you're not sitting there overly confident in the Rockies closer right now. Daniel Bard, 5.40 ERA in 6 appearances, 5 innings in that time. He has allowed 4 hits. He has allowed 3 earned runs. He has allowed 2 home runs and walked 5. No, wait, I'm sorry. I don't think it's any home runs. I think I had that incorrect. Yeah, no home runs. I'm sorry. That was no, it is home runs. I'm sure. I keep reading this. That's hit by a pitch. Yeah, Daniel Bard has given up 2 home runs this spring, and like I said, the 5 walks, and that is really not a good line, a good look, and a good start to the spring for Daniel Bard. And I still do believe in Daniel Bard as well. I think that you have to believe in his abilities to adjust. I think the World Baseball Classic might have thrown things off, and especially with the way that went for him, I think that might have added to the issues. But we'll see. We know what happened, what got him out of the game, or what made him step away from the game for a bit. What was the issue there? We know it was that mental block, that stuff. So a spring like this isn't necessarily going to have you feeling overly confident, and that's what we kind of need the Rockies to feel like. Every Rockies player, we want them to be carrying that optimism and want them to be carrying that early season confidence that now that things has just started, now that things are fresh and new in terms of the season, they have a moment, they have the opportunity to seize it and go after it and take advantage of it. Every early season win is still a win. A win in April and a win in May still means the same as a win in August and September when it comes to overall record, one column or another. So the Daniel Bard is going to be instrumental to the Rockies' success here. They don't necessarily have another certified bona fide closing option. He is going to be someone that the Rockies really need to start sharpening it up a little bit more and getting a little bit more out of from the Rockies. Big time reliever. Ryan Feltner has gone out and had some pretty decent work for Feltner as well, but a sky-high ERA. The Rockies have, I know ERA, especially when it comes to spring training, it's nothing. But there's just a couple of bad innings, a couple of things where batters are getting lit up a little bit more than the Rockies would hope. And just, I know there's spring training games, but the Rockies have just kind of let things get away from them at some points with their bullpen and some of these spring training games that you just can't set that as the standard for the season going forward. And overall, out of the things that most concern me out of those, the bullpen still will be it, followed by the rotation and the offense. I think, well, it's hard to tell. I guess let's dive into that. Let's bring it all together here and figure out what is the biggest concern. Is it the offense? Is it the starting pitching? Is it the bullpen? Is it and defense can kind of filter in somewhere in there as well. What is the biggest concern at the moment for the Rockies? Let's dive into that here in segment number 3 coming up after I tell you about Built Bar. The Built March Madness bracket is here, and we know that you have a favorite bar or puff. Now is the time to make it count. Go to BuiltMarchMadness.com and vote for your favorite. You can get yourself entered to win a lucky opportunity to get a free bar, a box of Built, and that's going to be happening to 50 lucky Locked On listeners when you head to the BuiltMarchMadness.com and voting for your favorite Built bars. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing. You won't think that they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your picks. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Also bringing you the Locked On Rockies podcast live on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Now, we're talking overall concerns for the Rockies. We've highlighted a few things, kind of touched here and there. And we're talking about what the main concern is. And Joel DeGrace in the live chat says, I think the bullpen is my main concern. We have the pieces to have a great year offensively, but we only have two starters that can reliably give us 6 to 7 solid innings. The bullpen is going to be huge. Yeah, the bullpen is going to be the reason the Rockies are in close games and stay in close games more often than not. And a part of the lineup that the Rockies are desperately going to need to see success. If the Rockies bullpen struggles, if the Rockies bullpen continues to be one of the worst performing bullpens in the league, it's not going to be surprising if the Rockies are, of course, as bad as people think they are. But I am not as concerned about the bullpen this year because at least the Rockies made changes. At least the Rockies did move things around, and we're getting a new look bullpen. The offense is still the thing I need to see the most. The concern for starting pitching is there too, but it's kind of one thing you're a little bit more prepared for. I expect a little bit more, and I kind of have. I don't necessarily know why it's not the bigger concern, because the Rockies starting pitching depth isn't overall very good, and the back half of the rotation still leaves a bunch of question marks, and there's still plenty of pitchers in this Rockies rotation that, instead of feeling fairly confident about what they're going to give you, like the first two arms in the rotation, you kind of don't know, and you're kind of having to still figure it out and go from there. There are certainly some concerns about the starting rotation, but the Rockies' secret sauce has to be offense. This is a team that needs to dominate on offense. This is a team that needs to be an offensive threat on the road and at home. And until they fix the offensive woes that we've seen the past few seasons, the offense is going to continue to be my biggest concern for the Rockies. This needs to be a team that out-hits people and needs to be a team that outslugs you and wins those 14-10 drawn-out ball games. And they need to be the team on the other side of that. They need to be the team that jumps out ahead early. They need to be the team that jumps out on pitches and takes advantage of mistakes. That's really, we need to see so much more from the offense, and that is going to lead to so much more. I mean, I know that there are reasons to be concerned for every part of the Rockies, absolutely. But the glaring issue is the Rockies are playing an offensive focused place, and they're not an offense. They haven't been a great offense. And that takes away one of their biggest weapons and biggest advantages, which is Coors Field. So overall, my biggest concern for the Rockies has to be the offense. But this is a team that does have pieces that entice me about the offense and makes me feel more confident about the offense this year, just like the bullpen does, leading to the starting pitching kind of being one of those areas where if you really want to focus in and narrow in on things, the starting pitching isn't going to take much convincing to make you think that should be the biggest concern for this team. And folks, we're going to see how it all pans out because it's on the way. Our next, the next live pod with me here will be on opening day, getting things ready, because tomorrow's episode is going to be the NL West preview show with all of the hosts from the Locked On NL Wests hanging out and bringing you the crossover. Folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for streaming us on your favorite streaming service or on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You can find us on your favorite streaming service. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us where Rockies fans are, because that's what we do. We talk Rockies baseball each and every day right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, and we want you to spread the word. Join the show, subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, and the Locked On Rockies Twitter at LO Rockies. You can find me at Paul Holden 33. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.